Traditional Chinese saying. House fight plus female protagonist sober and independent, not foolish and sweet plus female strong male strong plus pursuing wife crematorium plus slapping scumbag male plus revenge plus IQ online. On the day of our wedding, my husband and my concubine were engaged in a heated relationship. After entering the mansion, I favored my concubine and killed her. It's okay, I turned around and married into the royal family. Laugh and see the ex go crazy with remorse. Not foolish but sweet, the plot gradually progresses, gradually enters a climax, and investing is not a loss. The legitimate daughter of a clear and independent family plus the black-bellied prince who endures humiliation and cares for the world. Can be flushed. Lin Shuyan and Wei Zixuan were originally a talented and beautiful couple, praised by everyone. This marriage has always been a beautiful story among the people of Shangjing. The bond of growing up together since childhood, the heart-pounding of a handsome young man and a young lady in the boudoir, all cast a romantic color on this marriage. Unexpectedly, during a royal hunting, Zirou, who had been killed halfway, took away Wei Zixuan's love and easily intervened in this relationship. Under family pressure, Lin Shuyan had to marry Wei Zixuan as scheduled, but one after another of the troublesome things after marriage left her exhausted. In the eyes of others, the luxurious and esteemed government office is already dirty and unsightly behind the scenes. She devoted herself wholeheartedly to planning for the government, but was constantly exploited by others. Desperate and disheartened, she decided to leave. But she never imagined that after parting ways, her ex-husband would knock on her door again on a rainy night, saying that he was wrong and that she was the one he had to live with. She smiled. If I had known today, why did I have to go back then? Chapter 1. Lin Shuyan, Lin Qianqian, and the various beings in the Lin Mansion. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The spring breeze is gentle, the Lin Mansion garden, the small bridge flows with water, and a few parrots on the tree are chirping happily, feeling very comfortable. At this moment, Lin Shuyan is copying the crabapple flowers on the tree in the pavilion. The crabapple flowers bloom perfectly during this season. Girl, the old lady asked you to go to the front hall. A girl dressed in pink quickly ran over. Lin Shuyan frowned slightly. She probably knew why her father and mother asked her to go. Yesterday, the Empress Dowager issued an order inviting noble daughters from the capital to go to the imperial garden to admire flowers. The crown prince has not yet married, and the selection of the crown princess has yet to be determined. Everyone speculates that the Empress's move is called a spring outing to admire flowers, but in fact, it is a great opportunity for the crown prince to select a candidate for the crown princess. Her stepmother will definitely not miss such a good opportunity, just let her bring Lin Qianqian along. Lin Shuyan sighed slightly and put away the rice paper. Walk towards the front hall. The maid Chuntao, who had just reported, followed suit step by step. Miss, let me tell you, calling you this time is definitely not a good thing. Last time I called you, I asked you to give the new clothes that the old lady customized for you to Miss Eyre. I don't know what object you are interested in again this time. Miss Eyre's eyelids are too shallow, and she wants Mrs. Things in every way possible. Lin Shuyan flicked Chuantao's forehead. Alright, don't say it anymore. The walls have ears. If someone else hears this, they may cause some trouble again. Oh, okay, Chuntao reluctantly pursed her lips. In her opinion, her girl is also too kind. She always gives way to the second girl, and the rebellious second girl has a stronger appetite. After thinking about it, it's all the fault of the master. When she has a new love, she forgets her old love. If the wife is still here, she will not let the girl suffer everywhere. Thinking of this, she looked at Lin Shuyan's back, so thin that her eyes couldn't help but blush. In his heart, he could only curse inwardly, Master, you have no conscience. It's just that the girl who pitied her has been wronged everywhere. Lin Shuyan had not yet entered the front hall when she heard the laughter inside. Yes, they were the happy family of three. Greet my father and mother. Lin Qianqian saw Lin Shuyan and immediately ran over in small steps, pretending to be affectionate and holding her hand. "Big sister, you're here." Lin Shuyan nodded and withdrew her hand without leaving a trace. Lin's father, Shen Shi, nodded as he looked at Lin Shuyan. "The Empress has issued an order to invite you to the palace for a green outing and flower viewing. You will feel lonely when you go alone. As you grow older, you should also go out for more walks. Otherwise, the world will only know that I, Lin Qianqian, have an outstanding eldest daughter, but not that I have a charming second daughter. Taking this opportunity, you can take her with you or be with you. She is young, and as a sister, you should pay more attention." Lin Shuyan looked at her father, and in her memory, her father had always been a strict and unsmiling father. When she was young, she worked hard to learn music, chess, calligraphy, and painting to earn him a good sentence. But now, Lin Qianqian only needs to act coquettishly to win his favor. She really wants to know why, also being her father's daughter, her father treats her so harshly. Lin Qianqian is so kind again. If my mother is here. Lin Shuyan's thoughts drifted back to the day her mother passed away. Her mother, who was originally the daughter of a wealthy businessman, met Lin Qianqian, who was still a scholar, at a temple fair. Her mother fell in love with him at first sight and insisted on getting married. Her grandfather had no choice but to agree and gave her a large number of dowries, fearing that her daughter would suffer. Unfortunately, my mother had a difficult life. Later, my father went through high school and had a smooth career. He no longer had to bow his brows and eyes in front of his father.in.law. Soon, he married his cousin and entered the house. Her mother, on the other hand, stayed alone in her empty house, enduring the indifference and despair of her lover. Eventually, she became depressed and fell ill, and soon passed away, leaving her alone. Lin Qianqian thought that Lin Shuyan was dissatisfied with her delayed response. Specially raised the tone. "Your sister is not as good at dealing with various situations as you are. She has been timid and afraid of strangers since childhood. This time, you will take her out for a walk and do your part as a sister. Would you be willing to do so?" Lin Shuyan's thoughts were pulled back and she looked at Lin Qianqian's frowned face due to dissatisfaction. "Nod your head. My daughter knows now." Lin Qianqian breathed a sigh of relief. "This is just right. As a father with only your two daughters, we must plan carefully for your future. Plan well." Lin Shuyan never imagined what her father had planned for her. If it weren't for her grandmother's pity and insistence on keeping her by her side, her situation in the Lin family would have been even more difficult. On the day she entered the palace, Lin Shuyan got up early and waited in the front hall. At the Lin family, she had always been the only one waiting for others, and no one had been waiting for her. Otherwise, it would have been another preaching session. "I vaguely remember last year when I went to Jing'an Temple to pray for blessings, my grandmother, considering the cold winter weather, insisted on adding an extra cloak for her before departure, which caused her to arrive late and she suffered a lot of ridicule from the Shan family's daughter. Sister is usually active in attending banquets, why is she so lax in praying for the Lin family's blessings?" "Yeah, Shuyan, it's not a mother who talks about you. Don't always recite poetry and prose all day long, busy with various banquets. You are the eldest daughter of the Lin family, so you should pay more attention to the family's affairs." Lin Shuyan shook her head and stopped thinking. At this moment, Lin Qianqian is dressing up in his boudoir. 3 or 5 little maids were busy in the room. Shen instructed the maidservants to match clothes while also criticizing the simplicity of the hair buns they combed. "Caixing, go and bring over the custom-made dress for your girl the day before yesterday. Kaiyue, this hair bun is too simple. Let's comb it into a cloud bun for Qianqian. In addition, bring the exquisite dotted green grass head insect inlaid pearl silver hairpin, and add the coral bead string step shaking treasure blue dotted green pearl hairpin. This way, we can showcase our identity as the legitimate daughter of Qianqian Prime Minister's mansion." After a busy schedule, Lin Qianqian finally finished dressing up. She turned around in front of the mirror, feeling a bit ostentatious. Feeling guilty, he asked Shen Shi. Mother, would this be too ostentatious? Shen waved her hand. Today is your first appearance in front of everyone, let alone the fact that the Empress is likely to use this opportunity to choose a crown princess for the crown prince. You must be glamorous in order to win the Empress's favor. Women in the harem only need to be beautiful, like Lin Shuyan, who has excessive talent and is too self-proclaimed clever. It's definitely not pleasing to hear that you are a mother. At this moment, Caixing handed Shen a cloak. Shallow, come here. This cloak was specially customized for you by my mother at the treasure building. 10 embroiderers worked day and night and just delivered it yesterday. It's made of Sichuan brocade, and wearing it can better showcase your status as a noble lady. The legitimate daughter of our Prime Minister's mansion is not comparable to any daughter of a small family. After speaking, Shen tied a cloak for Lin Qianqian and led him out. Lin Shuyan waited left and right but couldn't see Lin Qianqian coming out. Seeing that time was a bit tight, she was about to send Chen Tao to check the situation when she saw Lin Qianqian walking far away from the front hall. Lin Shuyan only felt that it was so precious and sparkling. Lin Shuyan and Lin Qianqian got on the carriage one by one and slowly drove towards the direction of the imperial city. The Empress Dowager held a banquet in the imperial garden to entertain everyone. After Lin Shuyan arrived, a group of girls gathered around to greet her. She has outstanding talent, a gentle and kind personality, and has always had a good reputation in the elite women's circle in the capital. Everyone expressed curiosity about Lin Qianqian's appearance and quietly scrutinized her. Lin Shuyan smiled and introduced herself to everyone. This is my sister, Lin Qianqian. It's my first time meeting everyone today. Please take good care of me. Everyone nodded and continued their pleasantries. Lin Qianqian felt ignored and stomped his foot in hatred. Not long after, a little eunuch ran over. Hello girls, there are still some palace affairs that need to be handled by the Empress. The Empress said that the peonies in the imperial garden are blooming just right. Please enjoy them yourself first. She will arrive later. Everyone nodded in greeting with a slight blessing. Lin Qianqian spoke up and said, Empress takes care of countless things every day, so it's only natural for her to be busy. Don't worry too much about us. As soon as the words were spoken, the eunuch who was delivering the message was taken aback, and then smiled and asked. I dare ask which family's girl it is, she really doesn't care about details. Feeling the gaze of everyone, Lin Qianqian finally returned to the center of the universe. In the past, he had never been ignored in the Lin Mansion, and proudly returned, I am the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion, Lin Qianqian. The eunuch smiled. Lin Cheng is quite skilled in teaching women, and she deserves her reputation. As soon as the eunuch left, everyone started whispering to each other. Lin Qianqian was still unaware of why he had become a topic of conversation among the bystanders. Lin Shuyan screamed inwardly, praying that no rumors would spread to her father's ears. Otherwise, we'll have to blame her again. Empress Dowager arrives, Empress Dowager arrives. As the voice fell, a graceful and elegant woman slowly walked towards her. Although she walked with a graceful and charming demeanor, her aura was so strong that people dared not look directly at her. There are countless attendants behind me. Everyone knelt down to pay their respects, and with a flat face, Lin Shuyan finally saw the Empress's face clearly. At that time, a sentence immediately came to her mind. When she looked back, 100 smiles were beautiful, and the 6 palaces were pink and colorless. No wonder the Empress Dowager's holy family was luxurious and favored endlessly. After everyone sat down, the Empress smiled and said, My palace is guarded in this deep palace every day, which inevitably feels a bit deserted. Today is rarely lively, so don't be constrained, ladies. Just feel like you're in your own home. Everyone replied in unison, Thank you very much, Empress. Another burst of laughter and joy. Lin Qianqian saw that there was no chance to approach the empress, so he said a few words and stamped his feet urgently, but there was nothing he could do. At this moment, she saw the queen flipping through the pamphlets handed over by the palace attendants, and had a sudden inspiration. "Hurry up and greet the empress. Madam, I saw that the words in this garden were just right and I liked them very much. I dared to write a poem to offer to madam." Upon hearing this, the empress lifted her head and saw the woman in front of her dressed in splendid attire, with a plump figure. "I believe it must come from a prestigious family." So he smiled and said, "Ping Shen, it's rare for you to have this kind of mindset. Which family's girl are you from? What's your name?" Lin Qianqian quickly replied, "My daughter is the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister. Her name is Lin Qianqian." "So you are the daughter of the unconventional Prime Minister, truly deserving of your reputation. Miss Lin, since she has this intention, please do it." Lin Qianqian stood up and said, "My daughter has made a fool of herself." Lin Qianqian pondered for a few seconds. Who doesn't love peonies? They occupy the beautiful things in the city. It is suspected that they were created by the goddess of Luochuan, and their beauty breaks the morning glow. Not bad, Prime Minister Lin has a good way of teaching his daughter. Please bring the cloud phoenix patterned golden hairpin from our palace and give it to Miss Lin. Lin Qianqian was overjoyed and quickly thanked him. "My daughter, thank you very much for the empress's reward." "Flat body," said the empress, as if she had thought of something else and glanced at the girls. "Ask, I have heard that Prime Minister Lin has a beautiful and talented woman named Lin Shuyan in this palace. Can she be here today?" Lin Shuyan heard the empress's question and slowly walked forward. "My daughter Lin Shuyan joined the Empress Dowager. Empress Dowager Qiansui. The empress carefully examined the woman below the stage, with a slender figure, long hair like clouds, skin like snow, picturesque eyebrows and eyes, and a delicate appearance. She was wearing a purple dress, although without any decoration, it made me even more pitiful. "Flatten," the queen slowly spoke. "Thank you very much, Empress Dowager." Lin Shuyan slowly stood up. "I have heard that you have outstanding talent and appearance in this palace. Would it be fortunate for me to witness Miss Lin's talent today?" Before Lin Shuyan could speak, Lin Qianqian spoke up first. "Empress, you don't know. In the past, everyone only knew that the eldest sister was skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. In fact, the eldest sister's dance movements were also very beautiful." Upon hearing this, the queen raised her eyebrows. "Oh. Really? I wonder if I have the privilege of visiting this palace today." Lin Shuyan quickly knelt down and said, "My daughter is only slightly skilled in dance, I'm afraid she won't be able to catch the eye of the empress." Lin Qianqian smiled faintly and said, "Big sister, why be humble, or are you trying to refute the face of the empress?" Lin Qianqian had already planned for it. Lin Shuyan has always been known for being a talented woman, taking away everyone's attention. Others only knew that the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion was her Lin Shuyan. On the other hand, his own place of origin was unknown. This time, Lin Shuyan was destined to make a fool of herself, so that her title as a talented woman would naturally be taken off, and she would have the opportunity to stand out. She looked at Lin Shuyan and thought to herself. Lin Shuyan, even if you have an engagement with the young master, in the end you will only be the duchess, and I will definitely marry into the imperial family. I must be stronger than you. No problem, Miss Lin might as well give it a try. But I don't know what dance music Miss is good at. Big sister has a rough understanding of Nishang Yui dance, madam, otherwise let big sister dance this." After speaking, everyone was in an uproar and began whispering to each other. According to legend, the Nishang feathered clothes dance was choreographed by Emperor Xuanzong of Tang dynasty. At that time, Yang Guifei became famous for this dance, but unfortunately, with the decline and collapse of the Tang dynasty, the famous song Ni Shang was left behind. Even though Li Yu, the later ruler of the southern Tang dynasty, received incomplete music scores, Emperor Yi of the later Zhou dynasty and musician Chao Xing searched for the sound according to the score, supplemented it into a song, and once organized and rehearsed it, it was no longer the original flavor. Yes, yes, yes. I haven't heard of anyone in my court who is familiar with this dance yet. Can Miss Lin handle it? Let me wait and take a look. The queen looked at Lin Qianqian and then at Lin Shuyan. No problem, Miss Lin can change the track if it's inconvenient. Lin Shuyan looked at Lin Qianqian, who was staring at her innocently. Turning back to the empress, she said, "Madam, I am willing to give it a try. If you are not proficient, I hope you can understand." The empress nodded with a smile and said, "It doesn't matter if you try. Autumn Moon, take Miss Lin to change clothes." Yes, I saw a pretty and lovely girl walking out. Miss Lin, please come over here. Looking at Lin Shuyan's back, the empress nodded thoughtfully, then turned to look at Lin Qianqian again, smiled, and didn't say anything. Not much longer. Lin Shuyan finished changing clothes and walked slowly, only to see her wearing a light and elegant blue long skirt, embroidered with blooming peonies on the hem, each petal as delicate as reality. The cuffs of the long skirt are wide, embroidered with blue seawater patterns, which further enhance her elegance and softness. Everything was ready, and Lin Shuyan comforted her body and said, "Empress, I have made a fool of myself." The other girls stared at Lin Shuyan, some with an expectant expression, some with no expression, except for Lin Qianqian with a cold smile, as if waiting to see a joke. With the music playing, Lin Shuyan began to dance. Her figure is elegant, like willow catkins dancing lightly in the spring breeze, and like lotus leaves swaying in the gentle breeze in the water. Her hands were as graceful as white clouds, sometimes lifting lightly and sometimes falling gently. Her gait is light and graceful, like a butterfly dancing gracefully among the flowers. The dance is full of poetry and painting, and every movement seems to tell a beautiful story. Her posture, gait, and gestures are like the strokes in a poem, creating stunning images one after another. Her dance gives people a sense of spiritual tranquility and joy, as if they are immersed in a dreamy world. As the music ended, everyone woke up from a dream and was immersed in Lin Shuyan's dance, shocked by it. Only Lin Qianqian looked incredulous, and then the queen took the lead in applauding. Very good, Prime Minister Lin is really skilled in teaching girls. Both daughters are both talented and beautiful. Autumn Moon, bring the precious blue and green pearl hairpin from our palace to give to Miss Lin. Thank you, Empress Dowager. Well, my palace is also tired today. I'm going to rest now. You all should leave now. Everyone replied in unison, yes. I saw 3 or 2 young eunuchs walking down. Ladies, please come this way, I will lead the girls out. Everyone followed behind the eunuch, with Lin Shuyan walking at the end, inevitably hearing a few idle words. Today has become the day when the Lin family stands out, with one writing poetry and the other dancing. We are both supporting each other. It's just okay, be careful not to be overheard by others and cause unnecessary trouble for yourself. Listening to these words, Lin Shuyan's heart was as calm as water. Over the years, she had heard many similar words, and she didn't know how much. Before her mother passed away, she had already been neglected by her father. She only hated herself as a woman and couldn't enter the court to earn fame for herself, let alone establish a family and protect her mother thoroughly. As a housewife, all she can do is strive for excellence in music, chess, calligraphy, painting, and needlework, in order to bring glory to her father. This way, when her father praises her, he can also think of her mother and come to see her. Chapter 2. Seize the Princess's Line. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. As soon as the queen returned to the palace, she asked the palace maids to pass on the 5th princess. After everyone waited on the queen to change her clothes, she leaned on the noble concubine's bed, lost in thought. Looking at the eunuch Xiao who was close to him, he asked, "Is Lin Qianqian the girl you mentioned today?" "If you go back to Empress Dowager, yes. The inner house is still winding and winding like this. This Lin Qianqian claims to be the legitimate daughter of her family, but my palace doesn't seem to have grown up under the big lady's lap when she behaves. Lin Shuyan is well-deserved and can be considered a model of a noble lady." Xiao continued, "Yes, Empress. I heard that this Miss Lin Shuyan was born to the former wife of Prime Minister Lin. Unfortunately, once that lady passed away, Miss Lin was kept under the care of old Lady Lin. Lin Qianqian's mother was originally Prime Minister Lin's concubine and later supported her. No wonder. Report to the Empress, the fifth princess has arrived." The palace maid announced and immediately withdrew. "Mother, I saw a girl around 12 or 13 years old rushing over. Although she was wearing a simple bun, she couldn't stop her charming and lovely. Oh my Yenna is still so lively. Why did the mother summon her children's ministers?" The queen scraped the fifth princess's nose and said, "Mother has found a companion for you. How about arranging for you to meet in 2 days? I thought there was nothing good about mother calling Yenna over, but it turned out it was for the sake of studying. Those masters are too old-fashioned. Yenna is so boring." The Empress smiled helplessly. "Your mother has found this accompanying reading for you, which is similar in age to you. You must like it." "Really? Which girl is it from? How is Lin Shuyan, the eldest daughter of Prime Minister Lin?" Lin Shuyan, Xiao Yuyan said. "Is it the famous noble daughter in Beijing, Lin Shuyan?" The queen nodded and said, "By the way, it's her. Is Yenna satisfied?" Xiao Yuyan pursed her lips and said, "I've heard that she excels in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, as well as knitting needlework. Many families in the city regard her as a model of noble women to teach their daughters. Isn't such a person too boring? Yenna likes to be lively. Are you as playful as you are? Today, Empress Dowager cleared the customs for you, and Yenna will definitely get along with her." Xiao Yuyan flipped over and jumped down, all right. Mother will never make mistakes when it comes to people. As the sun sets in the west, it brushes past the clouds, leaving only a faint afterglow. The sky is a soft orange, creating a quiet and warm atmosphere. In Lin's mansion, Lin Shuyan was holding a pearl hairpin in a daze. Chuntao walked in and saw her own girl sitting quietly by the window. The moonlight shone on her jade-like skin, emitting a faint silver glow, like a cold lake. But his eyes were fixed on the hairpin, surrounded by a hint of desolation. Girl, Chuntao called out softly. Lin Shuyan just woke up like a dream. When the maid entered the room, she saw the girl daydreaming. What's the girl's problem? I heard that the girl and the second girl were praised by the Empress in the palace today. The master and lady are both in the second girl's room at the moment. I have nothing to do, it's just that I haven't danced for a long time. Today when I dance, I think of my mother again. Lin Shuyan wiped her tears with a handkerchief. Chuntao couldn't help but blush as she looked at her. The girl is now beautiful and renowned, and Madame Qianxia is also pleased to know. Lin Shuyan nodded. Fortunately, Lin Qianqian doesn't know much about me. He doesn't know what I know or what I don't know. If it weren't for that, I'm afraid I would be ashamed of my family in the palace today. If that were the case, I don't know how much fire my father will get. Chuntao cut the candle and took a cloak from the wardrobe to put on Lin Shuyan. Miss, be careful with the cool breeze. Although it's spring now, the night is still a bit chilly. Lin Shuyan nodded and shook the hand of Chuntao. Yes, when the news spread to the mansion, I was still wondering why the young lady had never danced in front of anyone before. Today, she made an exception and even performed the Nishang feather clothes dance. Fortunately, the lady taught this dance to the young lady during her lifetime, otherwise it would have been difficult today. It's just that, don't think about it anymore. I'm also tired today, I need to take a break. Chuntao stepped forward to undress Lin Shuyan, waited on her to lie down, and slowly retreated out. The next morning, a commotion outside woke up Lin Shuyan. Spring Peach. Spring Peach. The maidservant is here. Chuntao opened the curtain and waited on Lin Shuyan to wash and dress. What's the noise outside? I heard that the father.in.law next to the empress has arrived. Why did you come so early? I don't know, but the old lady has just gone to the front hall and instructed me to take care of the young lady. After finishing her makeup, she should also go over quickly. Okay, I got it. Lin Shuyan pondered to herself why the empress had sent people here. Quickly, after finishing her makeup, Chuntao followed Lin Shuyan to the front hall. Encountering Lin Qianqian on the road, he also hurriedly rushed to the front hall. Big sister, good fortune. Big sister, what instructions do you have from the empress? I'm afraid it wasn't chosen by the crown princess. The words couldn't conceal her pride. Lin Shuyan was helpless. Why is her sister so shallow-minded? Surprisingly, one can think that a spring outing can determine the candidate for the crown princess. Little did they know that the selection of a crown prince and consort would go through layers of trials and tribulations. How could it be easily decided? If so, it would be too much of a child's play. When the two arrived, the old lady, as well as Lin Qianqian and Shen Shi, were already seated in the front hall. My daughter pays respects to her grandmother and parents. Get up now. Lin Qianqian invited the two to pay respects to the empress's close father.in.law. This is the personal father.in.law next to the empress dowager. Duke-de, you two have come and met. Good Duke-de. Duke-de smiled and said, hello, both girls. Prime Minister Lin is very fortunate. Both girls are outstanding in talent and appearance. Yesterday, when we returned to the banquet, the empress praised both girls endlessly. My father.in.law laughed and said, I am only slightly talented in literature. How can I bear the praise of my mother? I wonder if my father.in.law is here today. What are you doing? Look at me, it's like this. Yesterday, the empress saw two girls who were very impressed by their charm. The empress had no accompanying reading for the fifth princess under her knee, so she specially requested the emperor to invite your eldest daughter Lin Shuyan to be the accompanying reading for the fifth princess. I believe the prime minister also knows that the emperor's love for the fifth princess is so great that she is afraid of falling in her hands and melting in her mouth. It is such an honor to be able to be the accompanying reading for the fifth princess. That's why I specially invited the servants to come early in the morning to announce the order. After speaking, everyone was stunned, probably thinking that this matter was not proceeding as planned. After all, Lin Qianqian has been struggling in the officialdom for so many years, and was the first to react. Emperor Xia and Empress Dowager, but the little girl is foolish and afraid of losing her sacred grace. Prime Minister Lin doesn't need to be too modest. Everyone knows about the beautiful name of the daughter, and besides, yesterday the Empress Dowager personally inspected and was very satisfied. The fifth princess and the daughter are of similar age, and the two girls can still be companions together. Why not be Prime Minister Lin happy? Lin Qianqian quickly arched his hand and said, what my father.in.law said is true. Duke-de smiled and said, that's it. Besides, the emperor has heard that the daughter and the son of Duke Wei have been engaged since childhood. He is grateful for their talent and beauty. The emperor has specially arranged for their marriage. Prime Minister, please accept the order. The portion from Duke Wei's mansion must have been delivered now. The Lin family knelt down to receive the imperial edict, and the emperor bestowed a marriage. The wedding was scheduled for September, which is the season of high autumn and cool air. Lin Shuyan thought that she would be going to have her hair tied next month, so she must have heard from the emperor. The emperor has intentions. After the Lin family received the imperial decree and exchanged simple greetings, Lin Qianqian ordered a servant to retrieve a bag of silver. Could you please come and have some tea with this idea? De Gongong calmly shook the bag and then smiled, saying, Prime Minister Lin, you're welcome. This is all I should do. Since I've completed the task, I'll leave. Someone will come to pick up the young lady from the palace tomorrow morning, so be prepared early. Farewell to Duke.De, some in the Lin family are happy while others are worried. Lin Qianqian sat on the main seat and spoke calmly, Yener, being able to accompany Princess Wu is your blessing, and it is also the blessing of our Lin family. When entering the palace, you should be well cared for and never make any mistakes. Yes, father, daughter knows. You, as a father, really don't understand your daughter. Don't you know what kind of temperament Yener has? The most cautious and appropriate thing to do is not to preach to your daughter every time. You should also care more to avoid hurting your father-daughter relationship. Lin Qianqian immediately changed his tone when she was stuttered by Mrs. Lin's words. What my mother said is that my son's court affairs are busy, so it's inevitable that he may be careless with Yener. Yener grew up under your knee, and my son can't help but feel at ease. In the future, my son will make time to pay more attention to Yener. The old woman lifted her eyelids and glanced at Shen Shi and Lin Qianqian. This is the best, it's all your daughter. Don't be too biased towards each other, so as not to be laughed at by others. In one sentence, Shen's face turned pale. It's just okay, since there's nothing else, let's just leave. Yener, come with me. Lin Shuyan stepped forward and slowly helped Mrs. Lin out of the front hall. In no time, Lin Qianqian's sobs, Shen's complaints, and Lin Qinghua's reprimands came from behind Mrs. Lin lightly patted Lin Shuyan's hand. Lin Shuyan looked at her grandmother and nodded faintly. She understood that after so many years, she had become accustomed to it and would not feel too sad again. At the same time, she couldn't help but feel that heaven was not thin on her. Although her mother passed away early, she still had a grandmother who loved her. She only hoped that her grandmother could live 100 years and be healthy forever. Mrs. Lin took Lin Shuyan back to the Lanting courtyard where the two of them lived and dismissed the servants. Yener, now you have also grown up. In recent years, even though your grandmother has been living in a deep house for a long time, she is not unaware of the weather outside. Her grandmother is very happy that your reputation has spread far and wide. However, this time you have been selected as the 5th princess's accompanying reader. Her grandmother cannot help but instruct you 2 words. As soon as you enter the palace, it is as deep as the sea, and the twists and turns inside the palace are not clear to you as a little girl. Even if you are only going to do accompanying readers, you should be cautious and careful in every situation, not listen or ask, not say anything, just do your duty well, and take care of yourself. Lin Shuyan nodded and said, Grandma, don't worry, Yener understands. Yener will definitely be cautious in her actions. Fortunately, she still has her grandmother, as well as her grandmother's protection and guidance. If my mother had knowledge, she would have been much more relieved. Chapter 3. The hunting ground startles, my concubine appears. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the past, Lin Shuyan and Wei Zixuan occasionally met or exchanged some tokens, but they haven't seen each other since the emperor issued the imperial decree for marriage. I don't know what he's busy with. Lin Shuyan thought to herself, feeling a slight drift in her thoughts. Xiao Yuyan approached her without even noticing. Shuyan, what are you thinking? Oh, I know. I heard that father has already arranged for you and Lord Wei to marry in September, which is only May. I'm afraid Shuyan doesn't hate getting married. Lin Shuyan regained her senses and couldn't help but blush and bid farewell when she heard Xiao Yuyan's words. You just know how to tease me and ignore you. Alright, sister, I'm teasing you. Xiao Yuyan quickly stepped forward to grab Lin Shuyan, and in an instant, both girls burst out laughing. Chuntao and Xiao Yuyan's intimate palace maid Fuling looked at them with a helpless smile. These two girls, coming together, really has a bit of regret for meeting too late. The Emperor and Empress have summoned me to the palace to accompany me in reading. I must devote myself to it. Come, let's take another look at the Analects of Women. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yuyan turned around and collapsed on the couch. Oh my goodness, please forgive me. Why does this world demand that women read and understand reason, but only require us to read books such as The Analects of Women, The Women's Precepts, and The Women's Instructions? Why can't we read all the books in the world and walk into the court like those men to fight for fame? What's the use of reading and understanding reason? It's really boring to be trapped in these four-sided courtyards all day long. Lin Shuyan said calmly, yes, it's so boring, but there has always been no absolute fairness in this world. Those in power only establish systems that are in line with their own group interests. Even if they read more books, women can only be trapped in the backyard, and all they can rely on is the future husband's favor. As she spoke, she couldn't help but think of her mother. She saw with her own eyes how difficult it was for a woman without her husband's favor to live in the backyard, and couldn't help but feel a bit sad. Xiao Yuyan saw Lin Shuyan's bright red eyes and guessed that she might have touched her sadness. She quickly took a piece of cake and went forward. All right, this is the newly made jujube paste yam cake from the imperial kitchen. I'm trying it pretty well, you try it. Lin Shuyan took it and looked at Xiao Yuyan, smiling. Even though she is talented, at first she was a bit nervous about being asked to be the princess's accompanying reader. After all, every move of a woman from a noble family is closely related to the family's honor and disgrace. She didn't dare to neglect, but after this period of contact, she realized that Xiao Yuyan was the best person to meet. She was innocent, kind, and innocent, and countless beautiful words couldn't be used too much in her. After regaining her senses, she tasted the pastry and said, "It's really good. The imperial chef is well deserved." Xiao Yuyan smiled and said, "Of course, this is the chef appointed by my father. Just because I love his cooking skills, my father transferred him to me. The emperor's treatment of you is truly excellent. Of course, you know, there's no father in this world who doesn't love his daughter." Lin Shuyan said indifferently, "Yes, there's no father who doesn't love his daughter. So why is his father always so strict with him? Is love not the same as love? But why is he so kind to Lin Qianqian? Yes, the two of us spend our days reading and writing poetry in this garden. I feel a bit bored. In a few days, father will go hunting. I begged father, you can come with me then." Lin Shuyan calculated the days and sure enough, it was about to be the day of royal hunting. Every year, officials above the third level would accompany him in hunting, and in previous years, Wei Zixuan would also accompany Duke Wei. Does that mean she can see him? Thinking of this, she touched the jade pendant on her neck, feeling warm in her heart. On the day of hunting, according to the old calendar, girls in the harem are not allowed to participate. This year, what's different is that Lin Shuyan, as the fifth princess accompanying her, is going to accompany her, so she also rides on the carriage with Lin's father. Lin Qianqian and Shen Shi looked at Lin Shuyan with anger in their eyes. They couldn't understand why Lin Qianqian had also shown his face in front of the queen last time and received her praise, but was still suppressed by Lin Shuyan in everything. Not only was she appointed as the accompaniment of the fifth princess and allowed to enter the palace every day, but it was also a magnificent sight. Even today's royal hunting club, Lin Shuyan could attend. How could Lin Qianqian and Shen Shi not hate each other? In the hunting ground, Lin Shuyan was arranged to sit next to Princess Wu. It was her first time attending such an occasion and she couldn't help but feel a bit novel. At the same time, don't forget to search for Wei Zixuan's figure in the crowd. After leaving the palace last time, she sent someone to pass a message to Wei Zixuan, informing him that she would also participate in the royal hunting and sending him a hair crown. Wei Zixuan sent someone to bring her a cloak, and today she came wearing this cloak specially. Her daughter in the boudoir cannot casually express many things in her mouth, which is an expression of her feelings. After receiving the greetings of the princes and courtiers, the emperor began to offer sacrifices to heaven, earth, and ancestors. After preparation, the emperor was the first to mount the horse, followed by the princes and courtiers. Hunting begins. Lin Shuyan waited for the hunting to end and could talk to Wei Zixuan. Unexpectedly, after a while, a guard hurried back on horseback and shouted, "The emperor has an order to send the imperial physician to the grand tent." Upon hearing this, Empress Dowager and Xiao Yuyan were both shocked and quickly called for someone to come forward and ask questions. The emperor ordered the imperial physician to go to the grand tent, but someone was injured. How is the emperor doing? If you go back to Empress Dowager, the emperor has nothing to do. It's just that Wei Xiaogong accidentally shot down Su Zirou, the second daughter of General Su's family. Therefore, the emperor sent his lowly duty back to have the imperial physician prepare. Upon hearing this, Lin Shuyan didn't stop and fell down. Chun Tao quickly helped her. She kept muttering about how General Su's daughter could have appeared here. The empress and Xiao Yuyan were also puzzled, but at this moment, they couldn't care about these things and hurriedly went to the big tent to see the injured's condition first. After all, they were female relatives and taking care of them was much more convenient. As soon as they entered the tent, they saw 3 or 4 imperial physicians surrounding a woman dressed in men's clothing. Perhaps due to other reasons between the man and the woman, everyone temporarily only wrapped the wound outside their clothes. The queen stepped forward to hold back the crowd and personally examined the wound. Fortunately, the wound was not deep and she wore soft armor. Lin Shuyan quickly took the wound medicine from the imperial physician to replace the woman and apply it. After finishing, the imperial physician went in to check the pulse and then sent someone to take medicine. Lin Shuyan let go of her worries. Fortunately nothing happened. After leaving the account, it was found that the emperor and everyone were sitting outside the account. The queen came forward to report on her injuries. Although nothing happened, after this incident, the enthusiasm for hunting among the people also decreased by half. Lin Shuyan looked at Wei Zixuan and found him standing there, looking lost and unsure of what he was thinking. Due to the unexpected nature of this matter, and considering that General Su has always been loyal and patriotic to the emperor, and Su Zirou is also an injured person, the emperor did not investigate how the people actually ran to the hunting ground. He actually sent many tonics to the general's mansion, and Wei Zixuan frequently visited out of guilt. Seeing that the wedding date was approaching, he didn't take the time to plan and hadn't seen Lin Shuyan for a long time. Lin Shuyan thought about it for a long time and decided to visit this second girl at the general's mansion. Command Chun Tao to prepare supplies and prepare a carriage to go to the general's mansion. After receiving her, the servant led Lin Shuyan to Tinjiuxuan, where Su Zirou lived. As soon as I walked into the courtyard door, I heard a burst of laughter and joy. "Brother Zixuan, push it higher, higher. Okay, you clever ghost, you really have the courage." Lin Shuyan only realized when she approached that Wei Zixuan was swinging with Su Zirou. The handsome men and beautiful women were laughing recklessly in the flowers, which was somewhat beautiful. If this man was not her fiancé, Lin Shuyan thought so. The servant, on the other hand, has a discerning eye and quickly stepped forward to report it. "Miss Eyre, young master, Miss Lin from the Prime Minister's mansion is here." Upon hearing this, Wei Zixuan paused and looked at Lin Shuyan with some unnatural expression on her face. On the contrary, Su Zirou looked indifferent and waved his hand to the servant. "Okay, I got it." Perhaps feeling it was not appropriate, Wei Zixuan quickly ran over and said, "Shuyan, why did you come?" Lin Shuyan looked at him, and she really wanted to ask him. The wedding is coming up, and there is still a month left. If he doesn't have time to see her, it's okay. He sent someone there twice, but he hasn't seen him. There are rumors from the outside world that he frequently visits the general's mansion, perhaps because he has some friendship with Zirou. She originally didn't believe it, but today when she saw it, her heart became clear that the rumors were not unfounded. For the sake of family prestige, and with the emperor's marriage and the orders of her parents as matchmakers, she adjusted her tone. Let me see how Miss Zirou's body is recovering. She is doing very well now. Although we are not married, I am still your fiancé and should come to visit. Sure enough, upon hearing the words, fiancé Zirou's face darkened, but soon she switched to her signature smile. Thank you for your concern, sister. Zirou is already doing well. Thanks to the company of Zixuan's brother, Zirou has been able to recover from her illness faster and not bored during this time. After saying that, she walked forward and shook Wei Zixuan's arm. Brother Zixuan, do you think so? Lin Shuyan couldn't help but marvel at the daughter of the general's mansion being so carefree, but she couldn't help feeling sad. Have they reached such an intimate level? Perhaps Lin Shuyan was here, and Wei Zixuan quickly pulled out his arm. Yes, Zirou. It's getting late today, so Shuyan and I won't bother you anymore. Please rest well. Lin Shuyan instructed Chuntao to put down her things and walked out of the courtyard with Wei Zixuan one in front and one behind. Along the way, Lin Shuyan remained silent. Until he left the general's mansion. Chuntao couldn't help it anymore. Young master, your wedding date with our girl is approaching. You are not in the mansion preparing for the wedding and fulfilling your promise to the girl on that day. You have time to swing with some other girl here. Do you know how fierce the rumors and gossip are in the capital during this period? In the past, our girl was always a model of noble women, but now it's good that you have kept our girl in the midst of rumors and gossip. I wonder how many people are watching our girl joke at this moment. The more Spring Peach talks, the more urgent it becomes. You don't have to look at anything else, you also have to look at the girl's childhood sweetheart with you. Alright, Chuntao, stop talking, Lin Shuyan said lightly. She looked faintly at Wei Zixuan, although she had witnessed the intimacy between him and Zirou with her own eyes, she also wanted to hear what he said and how to distinguish. But Wei Zixuan frowned, as if thinking about something, without saying a word. Lin Shuyan sighed when she saw him like this and didn't say anything more. Spring Peach returned to the mansion. Then he turned his head and got on the carriage. For some reason, she felt a little uneasy and felt like something had changed. Thinking of the past, she had been studying with Wei Zixuan since childhood sweethearts, and later betrothed with her parents. From a young age, she knew that she would marry Wei Zixuan in the future, for the sake of both the government and the Prime Minister. She was cautious and strict with herself, and even when betrothed, she always maintained the appropriate distance from Wei Zixuan. Her speech and behavior never exceeded the distance, and she had never been as intimate as Zirou and him today. At night, it's windy. Lin Shuyan slept very restlessly that night, always dreaming of her deceased mother. Dreamed of the instructions given to her mother before her death. The next morning, before waking up, I heard a commotion in the courtyard. Spring Peach, why is there so much noise? Chuntao ran into the room and said, Miss, it's the young master who came to see the master. Why did he come here early this morning? Looking at Chuntao's hesitant expression, although Lin Shuyan felt uneasy in her heart, she still calmed down. It's okay, you can tell me. Miss, the young master told the master in the front hall that he wanted to divorce you, and the master had a big temper. Miss, don't be upset. Let me tell you, this young master is not good either. Our young master has outstanding talent and I have always felt that he is not worthy of you. Chapter 4. Door-to-door divorce. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Lin Shuyan heard the word divorce, her hand clenched as she pinched her handkerchief. Immediately regained composure. Can you hear the reason why the young master came to divorce this time? Chuntao glanced at Lin Shuyan and hesitated to speak. I didn't listen too attentively, I only heard what seemed to be mentioning the second girl from the general's mansion. Seeing that Lin Shuyan's face didn't show much expression, she said again, last time we went to the general's mansion, I saw that the second girl was tampering with the young master, and I thought there was a problem. Miss, don't hurt your heart. The young master was just momentarily deceived. He and the girl have a growing-up relationship together, how could he say to let go and let go? Lin Shuyan was lost in thought but didn't answer. In her heart, she was prepared. Last time she went to the general's mansion, she saw that those two were probably already in love and couldn't be separated. Even if she had grown up together with Wei Zixuan, it was probably not worth the intense emotions. Moreover, if she had the option, she would be willing to agree to divorce. In her heart, her husband, whom she had always longed for in the future, would put her on the tip of her heart. However, she also understood that in today's society, men will eventually have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Therefore, she could accept her future husband's future adoption of concubines, but could not tolerate not considering her before marriage. Chuntao saw that her own girl had been silent for a long time, and she was in a daze. She was a bit worried and tentatively waved her hand in front of Lin Shuyan. Girl. Lin Shuyan turned around and smiled at Chuntao, no problem. Keep dressing me up. After finishing, let's go to my grandmother's house. She knew that only her grandmother truly cared for her, and if she knew, she would probably get angry. As for the front hall, let her father handle it. Her daughter, who has not yet left the cabinet, is also a party involved, so she naturally cannot go to the front hall to argue anything. She has suffered enough humiliation. Who would have thought that as a model of noble women in the capital, she would one day be rushed to her door and humiliated? When Lin Shuyan went to her grandmother's room, her grandmother was looking at something at the table and she called out softly. Grandmother, Mrs. Lin saw that it was Lin Shuyan who quickly asked her to come and sit next to her. Yenner, come over quickly. Grandma is ordering your dowry. This box is your mother's dowry at the time. Your grandparents were originally in business, and your mother brought a generous dowry when she got married. There are fields, estates, and shops inside. After your mother passed away, I have been collecting these things for you all along. Shen and your father have mentioned them multiple times, but I have blocked them. This is your mother's dowry, and she only has you as a daughter. These will all be handed over to you sooner or later, and no one can touch them. After speaking, she smiled. Don't worry, for so many years, I have been arranging capable personnel to take care of it. The accounts are clear, and you are also quick to get started. You are about to get married, and managing these estates is also the responsibility of the head of the family. The government is not like an ordinary family, and there must be more industrial rules. During this time, you can familiarize yourself well, and it will be convenient for you to marry and take charge of the feedbacks. Our daughter from the Lin family can definitely do an excellent job. Lin Shuyan's eyes turned red as she wanted to say something, but the words turned into a coquettish expression on her lips. Grandmother, I can't bear to part with her. Mrs. Lin smiled and said, Oh my, you look like a little girl at such an old age. Even my grandmother can't bear to part with you. Every woman will get married sooner or later. Don't worry, if you get married and suffer any injustice, come back and tell my grandmother. Even if she fights this old bone, she will still have to find a way for you. She patted Lin Shuyan's shoulder, how could she bear it? At the time of Lin's mother's death, Lin Shuyan was only 6 years old, thin and small. She felt heartbroken when she looked at her. For so many years, she had raised her in the palm of her hand, pampering her like a flower, and now she also wants to marry someone else's house. The twists and turns in the inner house, she was already a passerby, how could she not feel heartbroken? As the atmosphere grew more melancholic, Mrs. Lin spoke up again, You see, I've become increasingly confused and forgetful as I get older. Just now, I was only focused on telling you about your mother's part. Here, this is the part that my grandmother gave you, which is also the land she prepared for you. There are 2 shops in the most popular area of the capital, and now my grandmother has given them all to you. You always need to have more dowry by your side when you get married. There are also some jewelry items that my grandmother has ordered someone to go to the warehouse to count and pack. This is a list, please keep it. When you get married, my grandmother will also put them on you. Car. Lin Shuyan's tears rolled in her eyes and she said, "Grandmother, if it weren't for these things, you should have kept some of them by yourself. Yenner's mother's share is enough." "Foolish child, don't worry, my grandmother has kept the portion for herself. I'm already old and can't use it too much, but I don't want to be too generous. In the future, I will prepare some for a superficial wedding. Your portion, whether it's in the village or in the shop, is top-notch. Grandma will take it with you to rest assured." As soon as Lin Qianqian entered the door, he saw the deep affection between his grandparents and grandchildren, and felt that it was not too dazzling. Since childhood, Lin Shuyan has been more attractive to the old lady than her. Is it only because Lin Shuyan is the legitimate eldest daughter? "Grandmother, if you ask me, don't worry too much about preparing a dowry for your eldest sister. I'm afraid it's still a question of whether your eldest sister's marriage will be successful now." Mrs. Lin, upon hearing this, looked at Lin Shuyan and saw her bowing her head without speaking. But I saw Lin Qianqian with a look of schadenfreude. I knew in my heart that something must have happened. "Where did you start with this? Please explain it in detail." Lin Qianqian looked at Lin Shuyan and said at the beginning, "I just heard my mother say that the young master came to withdraw early this morning, saying that he and his elder sister were originally ruthless, and that there was a misunderstanding between the elders of both sides. What he really likes is the second girl in General Su's mansion. Overall, the elder sister has always been a model of noble women in the capital, and this humiliation is the first time she has been humiliated. Chun Tao, is there such a thing?" The spring peach trembled. "If I were to return to the old lady, there must be this matter." Mrs. Lin sighed and took Lin Shuyan's hand, looking at Lin Qianqian. "Since that's the case, what are your father's plans? Do you know?" "My granddaughter doesn't know." "Okay, since that's the case, I'll go ask him and he'll know. Yenner, you should go back to your room first. Don't worry, my grandmother will do justice for you. It's really bullying our Lin family. I'll go ask the Duke of Gua, is it his intention or Zixuan acting on his own?" After finishing speaking, Green Ping beside Mrs. Lin quickly helped her out. Lin Qianqian glanced at Lin Shuyan and left. In the front hall, Lin Qinghua and Shen Shi were discussing. Seeing Mrs. Lin here, she knew she already knew inside. On the contrary, Shen Shi smiled slightly. "Mother, why did you come? Let me ask you, what do you plan to do about Yenner? Our Lin Mansion is a noble family, how can we suffer such great humiliation? Mother, don't be angry. I am currently discussing with Xianglian." "Discuss. What can you come up with?" "One is an incompetent father, and the other is a stepmother. Who among you can truly plan for my Yenner? Although I am old, I still have some say. Today, I will go to the government office to ask how they educate their son. Mother, don't be impulsive. My son will handle this matter properly and won't hurt Yenner. After all, she is the daughter of my Lin family. I can't watch others trample on her like this." In Lin Shuyan's room, Chun Tao was accompanying her in painting. Seeing her daughter's calm expression, Chun Tao couldn't help but feel a little worried. Although Lin Shuyan and Wei Zixuan didn't have a strong romantic relationship in the past, they often had feelings for each other. She knew that their daughter must have feelings for the young master. She was afraid that she would be extremely sad, but she had to pretend to be calm on the surface. Chun Tao thought about it and would cry. She only felt that it was Wei Zixuan's fault to think so much, but in the end, they all had to bear the responsibility. This world is also too unfair to women. Her girl's life is too difficult. Chapter 5. Is Su Zirou pregnant? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After hearing about Wei Zixuan's actions, Duke Wei Zhouji became furious. Bastard, do you know what you've done? You're so bold now that you dare to come and withdraw without permission. You've ruined my old face. Lady Guodong wanted to step forward to protect her, but was scolded by Wei Zhouji, don't interfere. In the past, you spoiled him and allowed him to cause such a big trouble. If I don't teach him a lesson today, I don't know what trouble he will cause in the future. Wei Zixuan knelt on the ground, covering his face that had just been beaten, but still refused to beg for mercy in his mouth. My son and Shuyan are just siblings and have no romantic relationship. In the past, my son didn't know what it meant to like, but only after meeting Zirou did he know what it meant to like. Father, do you have the heart to bury your own son's lifelong happiness for the sake of so-called courtesy? Wei Zhouji couldn't even express himself in this tone of voice. You're such a jerk. What does it mean to have no relationship between men and women? In the past, you passed on tokens to each other, how could it be called heartless? Now that you see a new person, you want to abandon your old one. Besides, that Sun Ro is just a commoner. How can she be the head of the government? What's wrong with my illegitimate daughter? Zirou is kind and resilient. She is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. Is illegitimate daughter so important in my father's eyes? If I want to marry Lin Shuyan, is it because she is the illegitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion? She is just more capable of reincarnation than Zirou. Wei Zhouji trembled with anger and pointed to the lady of the Duke, saying, Look, this is the good son you have educated. In the past, when I asked him about his homework, he couldn't say a word or two, but now he speaks very eloquently. Upon hearing that her son was yearning for a commoner, Lady Guodong began to earnestly advise her, Zixuan, how could you talk to your father like this? Your marriage to Shuyan has long been arranged, and besides, it has been granted by the emperor. Do you want to resist the imperial decree? Do you want to put our Guodong mansion to death? Moreover, that Su Zirou is just a commoner. If you really like her, bringing her into the mansion after you get married to Shuyan and being a concubine will not be considered unfair to her. The concubine cannot do it. Zirou and I will be a couple for a lifetime. I will only marry her in this lifetime. I cannot let her down for me, let alone break my oath with her. Hear the words of a lifetime, a pair of people. The Duke and his wife almost fainted. We had to first order Wei Zixuan to be imprisoned in another courtyard before making any plans, while the two of them ordered their servants to prepare generous gifts and carriages to rush to the Prime Minister's mansion to apologize. This marriage cannot be stopped by reason or emotion. In the Prime Minister's mansion, the Duke and his wife apologized extremely humbly. After all, they were not able to say anything. Prime Minister Lin, my wife and I have just punished Xianer at home. He has already realized his mistake. Please give your son a chance. When children inevitably make mistakes, you, as an adult, should get married. Don't hurt the bond between our two families. Lin Qianqian saw that Wei Zhouji was so lowly, so it was not easy to criticize him. He had to forgive others and let them go. Moreover, as Wei Zhouji said, marriage should continue as usual. Lin Qianqian was about to let go when she saw Green Ping supporting Mrs. Lin in. Has the gentle words of the Duke of Guo erased the grievances that we Yener have suffered? Yener grew up with me since childhood, and this child has been smart, eager to learn, and sensible since childhood. I am afraid of falling when I hold it in my hand, and afraid of flowers when I hold it in my mouth. The flowers I raise now are the same, and I don't want you to trample on her. Whether Zixuan's words in the morning were his own decision or for some other reason, our daughter from the Lin family cannot suffer such injustice in vain. Today, your parents came to represent the attitude of your husband and wife. If Zixuan still thinks of others, then Yenner will also. Without hesitation, I leaned forward to accept this injustice. Although our Lin family doesn't have a wealth, we can still afford to raise a daughter. After listening to these words, Wei Zhouji's forehead was already wet with sweat. He had heard of Mrs. Lin's fame, and when he was young, he supported his son in reading and understanding. His reputation was very good, and he was also swift and decisive in his actions. He had a good reputation in the capital city. Helplessly, the trouble caused by my own son, I can only solve the problem in front of me first. Yes, Mrs. Lin, what you said is that Zixuan really realized his mistake. He is currently at home and is contemplating things. He just mentioned his withdrawal in the morning, so I'm sorry to come to his door. When I go back, I told him to come and apologize to Shuyan in person. Don't be angry, don't hurt your body. Mrs. Lin nodded. That's good, my old lady won't disturb your speech. Please do as you please. Then Green Ping helped her out of the hall. Lin Qianqian and Wei Zhouji exchanged a smile, and after a brief exchange of greetings, the couple of Duke Wei stood up and said goodbye. Chun Tao was very happy to see this scene and went back to report good news to Lin Shuyan. Girl. She ran into the room and saw Lin Shuyan still drawing at the desk, smiling helplessly. Lin Shuyan knew there was news again when she saw Chun Tao running back. He spoke up and asked, "What's the good news? You're laughing happily now, not as worried as you were just now. It's letting me have some leisure time, so I don't have to try to make you happy. My good girl, you're still talking to me. There's really good news. The Duke and Duchess of Wei just came, apologizing and giving gifts. I'll tell you, this marriage is definitely irreversible. Is there anyone better than the girl in this capital now? And what about him?" Chun Tao knew that Lin Shuyan was asking Wei Zixuan, but she thought for a moment and said truthfully, "The young master didn't come, but the old lady gave the young master a good beating in the front hall. I believe the young master will eventually figure it out." Lin Shuyan said lightly after listening, "It's also good." When Wei Zhouji returned to the mansion, he pulled Wei Zixuan out and asked him to apologize to the Lin family. However, Wei Zixuan choked his neck and refused to bow his head. Seeing that the father and son were going to argue again, the lady of the Duke quickly came forward to persuade him to reconcile. All right, in order to prevent this fact from happening, let's go rest, master. I'll tell Zixuan." Wei Zhouji glanced at her and said, "It's not all that you're used to. It's good now. Your eyes are so high that he doesn't take anyone seriously." Yes, my husband said, "You've been tired all day, go rest." I advised Zixuan. Wei Zhouji snorted and turned around to leave. Seeing Wei Zhouji leave, Wei Zixuan began to act coquettishly with his mother. "Mother, you love me the most on weekdays. Can you help me persuade my father? I can't let Zirou down." The lady of the Duke glanced at him. "So you're sorry for Shuyan? You know it was Lin Shuyan, not Su Zirou, who was engaged to you since childhood. I've already said that if you really like her, after you and Shuyan get married, I can try to persuade your father to take Su Zirou into the mansion. It's impossible for you to marry her as the head of the household. You must die of this heart." Zirou said she didn't want to be a concubine. Her son had already promised her a lifetime of one couple, how could she go back on her word? Lady Guogong snorted coldly, "I heard you say that although Su Zirou is a commoner, she is also a girl from the general's mansion. How could she be so innocent and have such a dream? Since ancient times, no man has 3 wives and 4 concubines. Even if I have a deep relationship with your father still has a few wives and concubines. If she wants to enter, she can, but she cannot be given the position of legitimate wife, let alone have any lifelong dream of a couple with her." Lady Guogong sighed when she saw that Wei Zixuan had not spoken for a long time. "In the past, when you were still young, there were many things your mother had never said to you. Do you know why your father was so eager to urge you to study and achieve fame? Wei Zixuan was puzzled and said, why? The title of our Wei family has been passed down for 4 generations, and your father is the 4th. Initially, this title could only be inherited for 3 consecutive generations, but it should not have been inherited by your father's generation. The late emperor felt grateful for your father's diligence and proper handling of affairs, so he generously allowed your father to inherit it for a lifetime. Even though your father and I are still in good health, we cannot ignore your consideration. If you do not have a good reputation, how will you be better in the future? Now that the emperor values the Lin family, the empress values Shuyan, and Shuyan is friendly with the 5th princess. If you divorce her, we will not refuse to comply with the decree. The empress will also stand up for Princess Wu and hold her accountable to you. Why do you need to be like this? If you keep your composure, perhaps the emperor can let you inherit the title for the empress's sake. This is related to the rise and fall of our country's government. You can't be confused. Wei Zixuan's face turned pale and he said, but, Zirou is already pregnant. How did she wait so long? Lady Guogong was shocked and said, what are you saying? How dare you? How dare she? How did I give birth to a son like you? Since ancient times, there has been no reason for an illegitimate son to be born first. You are really confused. After hitting Wei Zixuan a few times, she regained her composure. Never let your father know about this matter, let alone the Lin family. Only you and I can know about this matter, and no third party can know about it. As for this child, I will think about how to deal with it. After speaking, she looked at Wei Zixuan and said, the most urgent thing now is for you to go to the Lin family and apologize to Lin Shuyan. You should handle the trouble you caused yourself. You don't need to worry about the rest, I will handle it myself. Just prepare for the big wedding now. Wei Zixuan nodded and had no choice but to do so first. After all, if it weren't for Su Zirou's coercion, he wouldn't have been very willing to divorce Lin Shuyan. After all, they grew up together and had some romantic feelings. Moreover, she also knew the situation of the Guogong mansion and could use this as an excuse to talk to Su Zirou. I believe she could accept it. Chapter 6. Apologies at the door. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wei Zixuan prepared gifts, carriages, and horses, and rushed to the Prime Minister's mansion. At the same time, he also had his personal servant 14 send a letter to Su Zirou, in which he had explained the situation clearly. I believe she will understand, after all, his Zirou is the most understanding. As soon as Wei Zixuan entered the Prime Minister's mansion, he was summoned by Lin Qianqian to preach. Immediately after, he let him go find Lin Shuyan. When he walked into Lin Shuyan's small courtyard, she was writing at her desk. Her black hair was like a crow, her graceful figure, her peach blossom-like face, fair skin, and the sunlight shining on her face made her shine. Wei Zixuan couldn't help but feel a bit dazed. Chuntao was the first to discover him. Young master. Wei Zixuan regained his senses and said, Chuntao, let me take a look at your girl. Young master, do you still think that the humiliation of our girls in the morning is not great enough? This guy is coming after us again. Wei Zixuan smirked and said, how dare you? I'm here to apologize to Shuyan this time. In the morning, I was deceived by the lard and said those outrageous words. Now that I know I was wrong, I came to apologize to you girls as soon as possible. Lin Shuyan heard the sound of words and walked out to hear Wei Zixuan's words. Wei Zixuan quickly welcomed Lin Shuyan when she came out. Yenner, don't take those words to heart when you wake up in the morning. I was just momentarily confused, and I still have you in my heart. I'm here to apologize and ask for your forgiveness. Lin Shuyan looked at Wei Zixuan and couldn't be too harsh. Unfortunately, as a woman, even if she was the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion, what choice did she have? It's just that we can only accept the good and take advantage of the situation. Mrs. Lin heard the commotion outside and knew it was Wei Zixuan coming. She instructed Liping to call Wei Zixuan and Lin Shuyan into the room. You and Shuyan grew up and studied together since childhood. Shuyan was raised by me, and I have watched you grow up. I hope you sincerely repent and treat Shuyan well after getting married. Otherwise, I will definitely go to the government to seek justice for Shuyan. Our daughter from the Lin family is not easy to bully. Yes, my grandmother said that in the future, I will definitely treat Shuyan well, grow old together with her, and not disappoint her. That's good. When I get old, I won't take up the time for you young people to meet. Go ahead. The two of them walked out of the room one after another, with no one else present, only the two of them remained speechless. Wei Zixuan felt unwell and hastily bid farewell and left. Chun Tao was watching Wei Zixuan hurriedly leave in the courtyard and hurriedly entered the room to see Lin Shuyan. Miss, the young master came here. Why didn't you talk to him much? He just sat for a while and then left. Lin Shuyan smiled helplessly. For some reason, the thought of waking up in the morning lingers in my mind, like a knot in my heart. It's okay, I should just adjust myself for 2 days. Chun Tao let out a faint hum. She knew their girl's temper best, and she knew that she might have developed a grudge against the young master. I just can't help but feel a bit distressed. Before we get married, there is already a rift. How can we live our married life in the future? However, Zirou received a letter from Wei Zixuan and couldn't help but get angry after reading it carefully. She had been planning for so long and even got injured. Finally, she climbed up to the government office and put in a lot of effort to win over Wei Zixuan. Now, she only had one side room. How willing she is. However, Wei Zixuan's letter also stated that this is closely related to whether he can inherit the title in the future. If Wei Zixuan is unable to inherit the title, it means that the government has declined and he cannot enjoy a luxurious life. She didn't want to remarry either. It's just that marrying like this first made Wei Zixuan feel guilty towards him. A man's guilt is a big weapon for women to compete for favor. After getting married, if she tries to plan well, at least she is also a 21st century working-class woman who has been struggling in the workplace for so many years and has learned a lot of various methods. How can women like Lin Shuyan and others in the backdoor fight against her? Fortunately, I had ulterior motives before and deceived Wei Zixuan into being pregnant. I was worried about how to pretend to be pregnant after passing the door, but now it's great. The ready scapegoat has arrived, Lin Shuyan. Don't blame me for being ruthless, it's just because you want to block my path. The ancients valued heavy heirs the most, let alone wealthy families like the government. She wanted to see if Lin Shuyan could harm her miscarriage, and if the family behind her could still protect her. The maid Chun Chao watched as Zirou's expression changed, twisted and sneered. Unconsciously worried, her master had a sudden change in temperament after a serious illness 6 months ago. In the past, their girls were the most kind. After falling ill, although sometimes they were also kind, they became unpredictable and unpredictable. She still persisted. She only prayed that nothing would happen again, otherwise all the fire would come at her. Do you remember the last time Miss Lin came, the young master left? Their girl became very angry with her, helpless. Who let them be slaves? If the master has any anger towards them, he can only bear it. I only blame myself for not being reincarnated and not having the fate to be the master. Chapter 7. Big Marriage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It will soon be the 5th day of September, and tomorrow will be the day when Lin Shuyan and Wei Zixuan get married. Early this morning, the Lin family sent someone to the Guogong Mansion to make a house, and the Guogong Mansion also sent someone to deliver makeup reminders, crowns, pendants, and cosmetics. Lin Shuyan sat by the window, looking at the things sent by the government, feeling a sense of confusion. She was about to get married, and tomorrow was her last day living at the Lin family. When she returned, she would be guests. She didn't worry about anything else, but only thought about her grandmother. She didn't know if her grandmother could eat and sleep well after getting married. Thinking of these, she couldn't help feeling a little nervous. In the evening, my grandmother called Lin Shuyan into her room and gave her many instructions. Grandmother knows that you enjoy peace and quiet. In the past, you only had Chuntao personally serve you in the mansion, which was fine in the Lin Mansion. But now that you have only one Chuntao by the side of the Guogong mansion to marry, it is absolutely unacceptable. This is Yang's mother, who used to serve me before. Later, she was in charge of the village outside the suburbs. Now that this village is taken over by Yang's mother's son and daughter.In.Law, when she is free, I will let Yang's mother accompany you there. If there is anything you don't understand in the house, you can also ask her for advice and inquiries. This arrangement is the most appropriate, and grandmother can rest assured. Yang's mother quickly greeted Lin Shuyan. I have seen the young lady before. Don't worry, young lady. In the past, I served in front of the old lady and knew everything about the inner house. This time, I will accompany the young lady to get married, and I will definitely help her to establish a solid foothold in the government office. Lin Shuyan looked at her grandmother and saw her nod. She quickly helped up Yang's mother. Young mama, please. Shuyan is young, and if there is anything she doesn't understand in the future, she will inevitably need her mother to teach me more. Yes, don't worry, miss. I have been with the old lady for many years, and our hearts are the same. If you love me, you can rest assured. After the pleasantries, Mrs. Lin held back everyone. Lin Shuyan knew that her grandmother probably hired a tutor, even though she knew it was a compulsory subject for every woman before getting married, she still blushed. After learning the knowledge, it was already late at night, and her grandmother did not leave her much. Lin Shuyan walked out of the room when suddenly a gust of autumn wind blew in. In autumn, the autumn wind is a bit cool. She slept very restlessly that night, dreaming of the scene of her mother passing away. The scene then turned into scenes of Wei Zixuan and Su Zirou swinging on the swing, followed by scenes of Lin Qianqian and Shen preaching to her, and later scenes of her grandmother arranging a dowry for her. The screen kept spinning, and the next morning she woke up with two panda eyes on her head. She was about to start dressing up in the early morning, sitting in front of the dressing table, letting those people play with her hair and face. Those people were saying compliments while dressing up. The girl is truly a natural beauty. She can be incredibly beautiful with just a little dressing up. Yeah, I've lived for most of my life, and it's the first time I've seen such a beautiful woman like a girl. I'm really lucky, young master. That's right, our girl is both talented and beautiful. No one knows the whole capital, no one knows. The eldest daughter of the Lin family not only has a beautiful crown, but also has talent, which is the top. Lin Shuyan listened to these flattery words and looked at herself in the mirror. She saw the girl in the mirror with skin that was better than snow, her eyes like clear and bright pupils, curved willow eyebrows, long eyelashes trembling slightly, and thin lips as delicate as rose petals. There is a hint of pity in my eyes. She was truly a beauty, and couldn't help but raise her hand to stroke her face. This beautiful self was also the first time she had seen it. After finishing her makeup, she was supported by Chun Tao and Yang Mama to bid farewell to her parents and grandmother in the front hall. Lin Qianqian gave her two symbolic instructions, and Shen Shi remained silent as if walking through the motions. She has long been accustomed to indifference. She doesn't care. The only thing she couldn't bear to part with in the entire Lin family was her grandmother. My grandmother held her hand and chattered a lot. In that moment, she suddenly realized that my grandmother seemed to have aged a lot overnight, and her tears were falling like broken beads. Chun Tao hurriedly helped her wipe. Miss, don't be overly sad, don't put on makeup. Grandma's tears welled up when she saw her like this. She held her hand tightly and seemed to have 1,000 words to say, with only one sentence left on her lips. "Yenner, take care of yourself." In no time, the wedding procession of the government arrived. Lin Shuyan covered her head and, under the guidance of the maid, walked out of the front hall, out of the inner courtyard, and out of the second entrance. When she reached the front courtyard, she lowered her head and looked at the green bricks around her. She knew that this place would only be her own mother's house from now on. Not to mention that his mother passed away early and was not taken seriously by his father. He said that his father only had one son, which was born to the Shan family, and his relationship with her was shallow. If his grandmother and father return 100 years later, the relationship between the Lin family and her will become even shallower. Despite this, she still insisted on walking her own path with determination, allowing her maid to assist her as she walked out the door. Wei Zixuan took her hand and escorted her onto the bridal sedan chair. After distributing the wedding money, with the sound of gongs and drums playing, the wedding procession set off. Although Lin Shuyan slept restlessly the day before, she is now not dozing off. Instead, her mind has become increasingly clear, and there is always an indescribable emotion in her heart that is pressing against her. Quickly, the bridal sedan chair came to a stop. She knew that it was the arrival of the Duke's mansion. After the maid helped her out of the sedan chair, Wei Zixuan stepped forward and held her hand. The two of them walked hand in hand into the main entrance and entered the front courtyard. The ceremony was then held in the front hall. As the voices of one bowing to heaven and earth, two bowing to the high hall, and the couple bowing to each other fell, she and Wei Zixuan had completed their ritual. From then on, they truly became husband and wife. From then on, there was no personal honor or disgrace, only marital honor or disgrace. In the future, any honor or disgrace would rise or fall, and she would be closely connected with Wei Zixuan, the Duke's mansion, and the Prime Minister's mansion. Chapter 8. Cave Storm. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After the ceremony, the maid helped Lin Shuyan into the bridal chamber and sat on the bed. She held back the other maids, leaving only Chuntao here. When the others left and heard the sound of the door closing, she immediately leaned against the head of the bed. God knows how tired she is now, her feet are starting to float. Not to mention the elegant and tiring appearance of this phoenix crown and xia pei, the headdress on her head is even more overwhelming, making her unable to breathe. She dared not slack off and maintain a dignified posture all day long, fearing that others would criticize the daughter of the Lin family. When she was a girl, she was a glory to the Lin family, and this should be even more so after leaving the cabinet. Chuntao saw that everyone else had gone out, and also saw that her own girl looked really tired, so she stepped forward to pinch Lin Shuyan. "Miss, it's all over now. Fortunately, the ceremony has been completed. Later, only the young master will come over. You two can toast each other and then have a toast before resting." Lin Shuyan was lost in thought as she listened to Chuantao's words. Is she going to share the same bed with Wei Zixuan tonight? She doesn't know why, but she feels a bit uncomfortable. It's unclear whether it's because they have an extra Zirou and some distance between her and Lin Zixuan. She only subconsciously doesn't want to share the same room with Wei Zixuan, but she understands in her heart that it's impossible. Not to mention that they have already become married, this is a normal married life. It can be said that a woman who is in a harem and also serves as the head mother of the government, without children by her side, is absolutely unacceptable. She thought of her mother again. She had been married to her father for many years, and she had only one child. Later, her father brought in the Shan family, and Shan's first child became a man. Shan's later special favor is difficult to guarantee the reason for not having this child. Which noble family does not care about offspring? She hasn't eaten anything all day, but now her belly is screaming. Chuntao chuckled when she heard the sound. I believe the girl must be hungry. There are some pastries on the table, and I'll give them to you. You can put some on it first. Lin Shuyan nodded, took the dim sum from Chuntao and ate it. As soon as she took a bite, she remembered that Chuntao had been following her all day and had not eaten anything. She quickly pulled Chuntao to eat together. Girl, this is absolutely not acceptable. I am not hungry. What are you talking about, silly girl? Nobody is not hungry after not eating all day. You and I grew up together as servants in name. In fact, I have already regarded you as my sister. For so many years, I have no parents to protect me carefully, and no brothers and sisters to accompany me. Although my grandmother loves me, I am not good at telling her everything to prevent her from worrying. Sometimes I look at Lin Qianqian and Lin Shuqi's brotherly and sisterly affection, and how can I not feel excited and envious? Fortunately, I will not be too lonely if I have you. Now you are married to the government with me. Compared with Lin Mansion, we should be more cautious in our actions and words in the future. It's hard for you. Chuntao looked at Lin Shuyan holding her hand and couldn't help but be moved. How could she not understand that she was just a beggar girl whose parents had died early that day? If it weren't for her girl saving her, she would have starved to death on the street. How could she not repay it wholeheartedly? Moreover, Lin Shuyan has been extremely kind to her for so many years. Unlike those young masters outside who don't treat servants like people, how could she be wronged if she followed the young lady? If possible, she would rather stay with her young lady and serve her for a lifetime. Miss, there's nothing difficult to do. Chuntao is willing to accompany you all the time. Don't worry, I have young mama. Miss, you are also the eldest daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion. Even if the old lady doesn't attach much importance to you, you should also consider the face of the Lin Mansion. If there is anything, she will definitely support you. Besides, there is also the old lady. The old lady's love for the young lady will not let you suffer any injustice here. The servant knows that Su Zirou's situation has always been a thorn in your heart. According to the servant, the young master has been causing such a mischief, and in the end, he will also marry the young lady and enter the door as scheduled. This shows that Miss Su is in his heart. It doesn't necessarily weigh too much. Besides, I can tell that the young master still has feelings for you. Lin Shuyan nodded. It's okay, let's go with the flow. After finishing the banquet, Wei Zixuan was taken to the bridal chamber by the servants. Although he and Su Zirou had already tried Yun and Yu for the first time, he was no longer an inexperienced young man. However, this time entering the bridal chamber, he still had some hidden expectations and nervousness. As soon as Wei Zixuan entered the room, he saw Lin Shuyan sitting upright on the bed. Everyone helped him remove his coat and crown. He gently lifted Lin Shuyan's cover, and when he saw her face clearly, a stunning expression flashed in his eyes. I saw the woman in front of me with skin as condensed as fat, hands as soft as catkins, a charming smile, beautiful eyes, slender willow eyebrows, a pair of beautiful and charming eyes, her jade cheeks slightly flushed, and her seductive lips seemed to be hooking at him, making him eager to kiss. Unfortunately, she was dressed in a phoenix crown and xia pei, with a phoenix crown on her head, looking dignified and elegant. Now, Lin Shuyan is dignified with charm, making people want to kiss her more. Although he had already known that Lin Shuyan was the most beautiful woman in the capital and had seen her often in the past, it was still the first time he had seen her as beautiful as she is today. Others joked when they saw Wei Zixuan's stunned expression. Young master, have you been amazed by the beauty of the new lady? No wonder we've all seen beauties like the new lady for the first time. Wei Zixuan felt a bit embarrassed when everyone teased him. Taking the tea cups from everyone's hands, exchanging tea with Lin Shuyan, and then taking the wine glasses, the two of them drank a toast. After drinking the wine, everyone wisely withdrew. Chuntao glanced at Lin Shuyan and also retreated. When Wei Zixuan saw everyone retreating, he felt a bit impatient. He remembered that before his wedding yesterday, the government had arranged for someone to teach him about sexual matters. Now, he thought of those scenes again. Facing Lin Shuyan's stunning face, he felt a surge of anger and blood. Lin Shuyan lowered her head and listened to the gasping of the man beside her, feeling a bit nervous. At this moment, she was looking forward to it. If something happened in the mansion that caught Wei Zixuan's attention, might she be able to avoid tonight? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel that she was too naive. Even if there were any issues with the vast government, Wei Zixuan would not be able to handle them. On their wedding night today, no one would disturb them. Lin Shuyan closed her eyes and her heart became horizontal. It's okay, she agreed. Perhaps heaven pitied her. As soon as Wei Zixuan sat down on the bed and hugged her, she heard a commotion outside. She listened carefully, as if it was Wei Zixuan's close servant 14 calling him. Chuntao knocked on the door, and although Wei Zixuan was impatient, he was afraid that there was an urgent matter. After all, 14 always acted cautiously, and he would not disturb him at this time unless there was an urgent matter. Lin Shuyan initially let Chuntao in, then stood up and tidied up her clothes. Wei Zixuan only felt that he had just been holding a warm and fragrant jade in his arms. When he accidentally stumbled, he had not tasted it yet and couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Looking at Chuntao doesn't make me angry either. I don't know if tonight is the wedding night for me and your girl. What's so urgent? I must come and disturb you at this moment. If I were to return to the young master, it would be the personal servant 14 who came to you and said there was an urgent matter. The servant had intended to stop me, but I will discuss it tomorrow. However, 14 said that the matter is urgent and he must come back to you. That's when he knocked on the door to ask for permission. Wei Zixuan impatiently waved his hand and said, well, you can call 14 to come in. As soon as 14 entered the door, he ran towards Wei Zixuan and said, young master, something's wrong. Why are you so panicked? 14 was about to speak when he looked at Lin Shuyan and began to stutter again. Wei Zixuan couldn't help but become even more irritable as he looked at 14. No problem, let's just say it. Shuyan and I are already married, and there's nothing she can't listen to. 14 hearts 1 horizontal. It's Miss Su. Miss Su's personal maid, Chun Chao, has arrived. She said that Miss Su has had a miscarriage today, which may not be good. There are signs of miscarriage. Miss Su asked to see you by name. Please come and take a look, young master. Lin Shuyan stumbled when she heard the word fetal gas, and Chuntao quickly supported her. Chuntao also heard it and was so angry that she wanted to go up and argue. Lin Shuyan grabbed her and slowly shook her head. Now she understands that her life may not be easy in the future. Chapter 9. Moves Fetal Inflation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It is rumored that Su Zirou had a miscarriage, and Wei Zixuan, who had just been mentally disturbed, has regained consciousness. He has made a difficult decision, and today is the first day of his marriage to Lin Shuyan. Although he misses Su Zirou, he cannot openly leave Lin Shuyan alone. Moreover, it is late at night at this moment. If someone else finds out about his visit to the general's mansion, it may provoke criticism. Perhaps sensing Wei Zixuan's hesitation, Lin Shuyan also guessed 7 or 8 things in her heart. Even though Wei Zixuan woke up in the morning and shouted to withdraw, she followed her parents' arrangement to come and apologize in the afternoon. It was feared that the Duke and Lady had already known about this and promised to let Su Zirou in, so that her marriage with Wei Zixuan could proceed normally. They didn't necessarily feel very sorry for her when they did this. They were afraid that Wei Zixuan might disobey the order and not be able to inherit the title in the future. She could tolerate a man's 3 wives and 4 concubines, but never expected her husband to be so impatient and have children outside early. At this moment, she only felt a splitting headache. Spring Grass saw that Wei Zixuan had not moved for a long time. She knew that if she didn't invite Wei Zixuan tonight, her life might be in danger. Thinking of this, she didn't care about anything else and quickly knelt in front of Wei Zixuan and Lin Shuyan. Please, young master. Please, madam, let me go and see our girl. Our girl is less than 3 months pregnant and her fetal appearance is not stable. She has been stimulated today and may have a miscarriage. Please, go and see our girl. Lin Shuyan raised her eyebrows upon hearing this. Did she feel stimulated today? I'm afraid that Su Zirou might just say this directly because her marriage to Wei Zixuan has stimulated her. After all, life is at stake, and even if she tries to stop her, she may not be able to completely stop her. She doesn't want to have sex with Wei Zixuan, so it's better to sell him this favor. I just hope he remembers her good qualities and doesn't make her too difficult in the government office in the future. Wei Zixuan still remained silent. Lin Shuyan looked at the weeping spring grass and spoke calmly, "Husband, go take a look. After all, life is at stake, and it's okay with Shuyan here." Wei Zixuan raised his head and looked at Lin Shuyan with red eyes. He was really in a state of confusion at the moment, unable to say anything else. After a simple thank you, he hurriedly left with 14 in spring grass. Chuntao watched as the person left and sent away the maid and mother.in.law who were watching the excitement at the door. Go ahead and do whatever you need to do. Madam is going to take a break." Everyone looked at each other, and no one dared to say anything. They all scattered and left. After the crowd dispersed, Chuntao closed the door. Looking at Lin Shuyan sitting at the table, she inexplicably wanted to cry. Her girl was trying to provoke someone. She thought that the young master and the girl would grow up together and have a romantic relationship. It would be a good marriage, but how could life be so miserable? She stepped forward to help Lin Shuyan, undressed her, removed her makeup, and then served her to rest. They all tacitly did not mention what had just happened, and after a day of turmoil, they were already exhausted both physically and mentally. Wei Zixuan returned early the next morning, and Lin Shuyan was dressing up. When she saw him coming back, she didn't ask anything, only said a faint sentence. "Husband, please go wash up. I will go to the front hall to greet my in-laws later." Wei Zixuan stared at Lin Shuyan's face and saw that she had no unusual expression. After thinking for a moment, he finally spoke up. "Shuyan, I want to take Rower into the mansion as soon as possible. You don't know that she's not like you, the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion. She has been pampered and raised since childhood. She's just an illegitimate daughter, with different levels of hierarchy between legitimate and illegitimate. In the general's mansion, her life is very difficult, and now that she's pregnant, she can't hide it for long. If she continues to drag on, it may damage her reputation." After finishing speaking, he looked at Lin Shuyan's expression and saw that she didn't have much expression. Then he continued, "Don't worry, you are a big lady with a straight head. This is an established fact. Rower is timid and the most gentle and kind. She won't affect you anything after entering the mansion." Lin Shuyan almost laughed angrily when she heard these words. What does it mean that she doesn't grow up being spoiled like a legitimate daughter? She just doesn't like to use her own difficulties to seek sympathy everywhere. This time, she remembered worrying about her reputation again. When she did it, she didn't worry. It reminded her of moral kidnapping. Perhaps it's because Lin Shuyan hasn't promised anything. Wei Zixuan felt a little impatient when he thought of Su Zirou's pitiful appearance yesterday and the doctor's words about unstable fetal images. "Shuyan, I have already said that Rower's entry into the mansion will not affect you. Besides, having 3 wives and 4 concubines is the most common thing for a man. I will give you the dignity that a legitimate wife should have, and you should not be too jealous. I will tell my parents about Rower's entry into the mansion, and you only need to say that you agree. My husband has already made a decision, and Shuyan has no objection." Wei Zixuan's expression relaxed upon hearing this. "That's good. When Rower enters the mansion, let's arrange for her to stay in Mingyue Pavilion. Please arrange for someone to clean up as soon as possible, madam." "Okay, I'll arrange for someone to clean up today and welcome Miss Su into the mansion. Then you can put on your makeup, and we'll go to the front hall together to greet you later. As soon as Wei Zixuan left, Chuntao couldn't help but say, Miss, you're too kind. The Mingyue Pavilion is closest to the little master's study, and I heard that there are many strange flowers and plants growing in the yard. The scenery in spring is the most beautiful. With just one sentence, the little master allocated Mingyue Pavilion to her for living. Isn't that obvious to you? Well, just do as he said. You can arrange for someone to clean Mingyue Pavilion later, don't be careless. Don't cause any trouble again. After dressing up, Wei Zixuan and Lin Shuyan went to the front hall to greet the Duke and Lady of the Kingdom. After offering tea, Wei Zhouji dismissed some servants and immediately spoke seriously. Zixuan, did you hear that you went out last night? Yes, father. My son wants to take Zirou into the mansion. Bold, you just got married yesterday and couldn't wait to take a concubine. Others were watching and couldn't figure out how to guess what kind of lascivious person you were. After listening, Lin Shuyan only felt that describing Wei Zixuan as a lecherous person was very appropriate. Wei Zixuan was a bit anxious and said, Father, don't be angry. It's just that Zirou already has a son's flesh and blood, so I'm afraid she can't wait anymore. Wei Zhouji almost fell off the chair when he heard the words, flesh and blood. You rebellious son, how dare you? Now that you have just married a legitimate wife, just tell me that you have an affair outside. How could you still bring up a child? If you have no matchmaker or engagement, you will engage in this affair. What kind of good woman can you be? Chuntao was listening, only feeling how comfortable it was to hear these words. No, father. Zirou is the second daughter of General Su's family. She is a serious girl, and as for the child, it has nothing to do with her. It's purely because her son didn't control her, it's just a momentary emotion. Wei Zhouji almost vomited blood upon hearing this. What does it mean to be momentarily moved? I'm afraid it's not because I've been too indulgent with you in my daily life. You've even forgotten the basic principles of propriety, righteousness, and integrity, haven't you? The lady of the Duke quickly persuaded for peace. Master, don't be angry. Hurting your body is not worth it. Xian Er also said that Miss Su is the second daughter of the general's mansion. Although she is a commoner, being a concubine is enough. Besides, she has a child again, so it's not enough not to let her in at the moment. What do you think, Shuyan? When Lin Shuyan heard the Duke's wife call her, she knew she couldn't make peace without coming forward. My daughter.in.law thinks so too. Since my husband and Miss Su are in a good relationship, and Miss Su already has her husband's flesh and blood, it is reasonable for her to enter the mansion to have a baby. This morning, I have instructed someone to clean up Mingyue Pavilion, and only when Miss Su enters the mansion can she live directly. Wei Zhoujiao sighed and pointed to Wei Zixuan, you really wasted the good lady that my father picked for you. After finishing his words, he looked at the lady of the state again, you already knew this, didn't you? You and your good son teamed up to keep it from me. You know, since ancient times, there has been no reason for illegitimate children to be born first. People can enter the mansion, but how do you plan to deal with this child? The lady of the Duke breathed a sigh of relief and said, I have already thought of it. Once the child is born, she will be recorded under the name of Shuyan. This way, she will not be considered an illegitimate child and can also block the leisurely mouths of the outside world. Shuyan, do you think it's good? Daughter.in.law, but according to the mother's arrangement. Okay, that's it. Let's arrange it this way. If we delay any further, Miss Su's body may not be able to hide. Today, I will go to the general's mansion to propose marriage. Chapter 10. Su Zirou entering the door. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text.